This is where I used to fuck up, right? I used to say so much shit, bro. Bot say, yo, when I get rich and don't have no plan. Everything that you say, it sound good in the moment. You truly don't mean that shit. Next thing you know, like months pass by and I was really just thinking like, we didn't do that shit, bro. You say some shit like that, you cast the spell, and when you don't back it up, it still costs mana. And this worked for anything in your life. And in doing so, I was building the systems, and that started building discipline. Peep Game. Look, it's your boy Brands Peep Game. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe for the YouTube algorithm, and follow me on all platforms at Brands Peep Game. If you ain't watched my other videos, you know I'm on a mission to expose the bots and the imposters, right? What's a bot? A bot is someone who's running off of automatic code, right? Peep Game. What's an imposter? An imposter is a bot who refuses to believe it's a bot, right? A real player in the game is one who becomes conscious that they in the game and they start leveling up their stats, right? And they do that by writing their own code, right? Every now and then I gotta think back on my old bot self, and I'm like, damn, what your bot ass was doing, and how'd I patch that shit? And a big reason where I'm at today, where I'm at right now, I got the house flip going on. I got, I'm in this mentorship. I spent $6K actually, because it's $5K, but I had to go into debt, and they be having interest on that shit. So I spent $6K on the mentorship, and I'm making moves, investing in myself, and I really had to think back on what my bot ass was doing. One of the main things that my bot ass was doing, and I recognize a lot of the bots do, is not taking a word serious. Peep Game, right? As a bot, I used to say so much shit, bro. Like, a bot say, yo, when I get rich and don't have no plan. In my case, when I was being a bot, I was saying, yo, when I get rich, but I wasn't doing the actions to get rich every day. Peep Game. So you might as well be a bot, because it don't matter if you got a plan or not if you're not executing that plan efficiently. Even on like the little short-term shit. I remember, bro, me and my friend, I be watching anime and shit, and we would always think that it's so cool to just like, yo, what if we could make an anime, or we could just make our own, right? And once AI come into the picture, right? AI come into the picture, and we're like, all right, bet, yo, let's make a challenge. You make some shit with AI, and I'm gonna make my shit with AI. We down with it. Yeah. All hype. It's good, high energy. And then next thing you know, like months pass by, and I was really just thinking like, we didn't do that shit, bro. And then you gotta look at all the other areas of life where you say you're gonna do some shit and you don't do it. You gotta look at this shit like casting spells. Peep Game. In the game, when you casting spells, right? Me as a bot right now, when you say some shit like that, you cast the spell, and when you don't back it up, it still costs mana. So when you casting spells and you never executing your spells, and you spending all your mana, when it come time to actually cast some spells, you can't do it because you have no mana, and on top of it, you don't even believe yourself to cast a spell because you never did anything to prove to yourself that you could cast any spells because you don't back it up. And the negative effects of this is, like I said, all the shit is programmed. A bot is running off of automatic code, and it's writing its own code, but it doesn't do it like a real player. A real player know what it's doing. It think about what it's doing, and it writes the code. A bot's code is just off its habits. A bot live off its impulses. A bot do whatever it feel like. When you saying all this shit, right, and you messing up your spells, what you start doing when you do shit like that is, when it come time to, you building a habit of just casting spells and not even meaning that shit. So now you just say a whole bunch of shit, and you nullifying the power of your words. Peep Game. And the shit get deep. Because as a real player, once I started leveling up, the only way I leveled up myself as a real player is by telling myself what to do and actually doing it. Because then I started writing my own code, right? And this worked for anything in your life, whether it come with the biddies. I was just dropping vids on biddies. The only reason I got better, and I broke it down besides the XP and all that and self-awareness, is not just knowing that, it's that I put my mind to something and I say, yo, okay, if you're gonna go out, you have to at least attempt to talk to one girl, something that you weren't doing. And the only reason that worked is because beforehand, I practiced doing what I told myself to do in any scenario. Don't even have to just be with the biddies. So when I was first starting off, I remember I kept it simple. I said you gotta do 50 push-ups, 50 squats, 100 crunches every day, right? And I was doing it. And I was making sure that I didn't forget. And if I forget, I started doubling up. But what I started to realize, because of I kept reminding myself, what I have to do is, I started building a somewhat comfortability of pushing it to the next day and doubling up. Now, at first, I would actually go through with it and I'll double up and do what I had to do. But I had to catch myself early, because I'm reminding yourself, I say, yo, you told yourself you would do it every day, not just make up for the days that you don't do it the next day whenever you don't feel like it, right? And in doing so, I was building the systems, and that started building discipline just right off that, because I practiced telling myself what to do and actually going through with what I told myself to do. When you don't consciously think about what you told yourself to do, and you just cast spells willy-nilly and don't mean it, you get deeper and deeper and deeper in the bot loop, and it's hard to break out, because you start not even remembering anything you said. Everything that you say, it sounds good in the moment. You truly don't mean that shit. The main reason you don't mean that shit is because you don't put no value on it. You really don't mean it. When you put value on things, if it truly means something to you, you will do it. Peep game. If I tell myself, right, making my bed not that important, right? Like, I don't really gotta make my bed. Like, sometimes I might make my bed then with that mindset. Maybe not. Sometimes I let it rock. It really don't matter, right? Now, if I tell myself, as a real player, making your bed is important, it's something that you must do, and I remind myself that, now I'm gonna make an effort and make sure that I'm making my bed every single day, because I put value on it. It means something. The problem with a bot is the bot don't value anything that it says, and it just says things willy-nilly and makes a habit of thinking that it means it. And that's why a bot turned imposter, because the bot truly meant it in the moment. The bot will say some shit, and it's yo, we going on this vacation, man. Yeah, I'm down. Bro, we're gonna do all these things. Yeah, I'm down. In the moment, the bot meant it. But then he turned the imposter get in his ear. When the imposter get in the bot ear and say, no, not even that it get in its ear. You turn imposter when you think you meant that shit. So when you change the value of shit, right? And you say, yo, I'm gonna do this, and you actually go through with it, that's how you start building the discipline to actually make your spells count, right? So now when it comes next time to cast that spell, you can actually cast the spell. It ain't gonna fizzle out, because you had to practice and put the repetitions into doing what you said you were gonna do. So now when it comes to leveling up in the game, right, it gets easier to level up in the game, because whether it's hard or not, you told yourself you was gonna do something and you put your mind to it, right? Peep game. Now the key to this though is the reminders have to be daily. And this is where I used to fuck up, right? Back in the day when I first started Peep Game, right, I was coming up with like this report card system that at the end of the week, me and Chardo, I told y'all about Chardo my last vid, RIP Chardo, he was my accountability partner. So we used to grade each other at the end of the week, right? And I'll be like, damn, I got a C week this week. I'm gonna go for the B next week. And then maybe next week I might get the B or I might get the C, and I'm like, damn, we gotta lock in for the week after, right? But it wasn't until I joined the mentorship with Cry that we have daily objectives on the power list, right? And you have to do everything on the list to win the day. And what it made me realize is, yeah, I was being a little bit more productive with that grading system for the week, but there's so many times that I could have recorrected and realigned earlier rather than waiting to the end of the week. You see, when I let the whole week go by and I look back on the week, it's a lag in response, because now I'm looking forward to the next week. Okay, let's correct the next week, but I'm not paying attention if I corrected it to the end of that week. So you see, it's like a lag and correct, and it's a game of catch up. When you remind yourself daily, the goal is to not lose any days. But if you were to lose a day, you know to correct the next day. Peep game. So that's how it's like, it's a constant adjustment rather than lagging it out for a week and then you keep on slacking. You correcting shit on the spot and you're reminding yourself more frequently. That's the problem with why the bot can't cast no spells, is because it doesn't make any reminders for itself. And then the imposter might make a reminder for itself, but it's not really looking into it to make sure that it's doing it. It sort of just remembers it here and there. And then it convinces itself that it's really still on course. But you gotta be honest when you're not. Peep Game. And that's one of the main lessons I had to sit back and learn, that my discipline came from doing what I told myself to do, and then I had to ramp it up and do what I told myself to do and remind myself more often of what I'm doing to make sure that it gets done. Peep Game though, look, the real players are locking in and leveling up. The imposters, I feel bad for you, I really do. And the bots, listen, y'all could break out of being in the bot loop. Just don't turn into the imposter. Put your mind to it. Peep Game.